How you doing?
Last time I saw you was in the AT&T store, right? In your way, right?
Yes, it was.
Hey, Ken.
How are you? Tim.
Good seeing you.
Doing fine. Good to see you.
That table's in it for a luncheon.
Breakfast.
Yeah, like breakfast.
Wow, okay.
This.
Like a cruise.
It's,
You ready to start?
yeah, ready to go.
All right. I'll open the door. Welcome, everybody. Today is our first round of internship presentations. Today we have our camp students, minus Amelia. She is out this week. So there are 5 students who will be giving us 4 presentations. Our 2 IT interns are going to present together. And then we also have 3 other interns, Brennan and Matt from accounting and Rachel from supply chain, who are going to present to you their final projects for the summer because their last day is tomorrow. We're going to start with the camp students, I believe.
Yes, we are.
Turn it over to everybody.
Student Carpenter.
Hello everybody, my name is Austin Carpenter, and this is my second year as a distribution intern. I'm from Canton, Ohio. I attended early college, high school, and I graduated the class of 2019. I'll be attending the Ohio State University this upcoming fall. I will major in exercise science education. In the future, I want to be a physical therapist or maybe an occupational therapist. And I'm a big basketball fan, and Shaq's one of my favorite players. This summer, Lee was my boss. I was given 2 projects to work on, which was time studies and creating standard operating procedures at cold storage in Salem. What I enjoyed the most this summer was the positive environment and culture here at Freshmark. A SOP is a step-by-step description to complete a task. I created and updated SOPs for multiple tasks such as unpick, put away, list pick, and many more. SOPs can help with training new employees, it can be used as a reference, and it can ensure that everyone's following the same procedure. To do these SOPs, I chat with people in the warehouse doing a given task, so I take notes on what they did or did not do. Over here is a SOP for a pallet pick, and what they basically do is go to the pallet storage location, they'll pick the pallet, they'll scan the pallet, and then they'll write on a placard what they need to, and then they'll place the placard on the pallet, and then they'll take the pallet to the outbound station location. These are both SOPs for put away. One is for cold storage and the other one's for Salem. Both of the warehouses follow the same procedures, except at Salem, they dismount and mount the forklift to scan the PID. I also worked on time studies. The discrete time, the PF&D time, and the KBI time all come together to set the goal time. I personally worked on the KBI time. KBI stands for Key Value Indicator, and I timed all the tasks such as scanning items, using the scanner, or picking up faces, and many other little things. To do these time studies, I time people doing direct labor tasks in the warehouse. In red period, time is tracked as TMUs, and a TMU is a time measurement unit, and there's 28 TMUs in a second. This is a time study for pallet pick, and without the PF&D time and the discrete time, it takes about 1 minute and 12 seconds to do a pallet pick, and that's about 2019 TMUs. This summer, I learned that culture is a very important aspect to successful companies. I learned the importance of departmental interdependence. I learned the significance of Microsoft and technology skills. I learned that the communication skills are essential I learned the importance of planning and time management, and I learned what business conduct is. I'm gonna give a special thanks to everybody up here listed, and thank you for a great experience. Any questions?
I guess after you get that information, what do we do with it?
The information?
You know, after you do the study, a time study, or you know, now what do we do with it in order to run the company?
I'd say you have to examine it. So like on the one example with the putaways, how Salem they had got off on the forklift to scan up your ID. Maybe you change the SOP so they don't have to do that because it wastes time.
Yeah.
So just change things around, make everything better.
Yeah, and I think the point there is, so you develop this data, and then how do you, the data tells you you might have opportunities some places, because as the picking time, so you pick, and sometimes those forklifts are running empty when they could be picking up a pallet, and that's kind of some of the things you might see in a time study.
Is this the second year you've been here?
Yes.
What did you do last year?
Last year, I did the same thing. I did the same thing in distribution, but I did different tasks.
How would you compare the 2 years?
I'd say this year was more challenging. I'd say the tasks was much harder, and it was just more complex. I'd say. But it was a great experience.
Good. What did you work for last year?
Who did I work for? We.
You had a better experience this year?
Yeah, I mean, both years.
Okay.
Crackdown.
Sleep insurance is better cost.
Oh, come on, I don't know about that.
All right.
It's great.
Good.
Thank you.
You're gonna have to sit over here, I think, and some of the pictures here.
Sarah.
Thank you. Hello. I would like to point out, I found the cutest template and I could not help but click it. I think it applies greatly. I did leave the Freshmark logo in there, just a little bit smaller than everybody else's. But help. So anyway, sorry. Hi, my name is Sarah Dubinsky, and although this is my second year interning here at Freshmark, it is my first year interning in the microbiology lab. A little bit about me. At the beginning of this year, I was offered a full ride to Eastern Michigan University to be a part of their speech and debate program, so that is where now I will be attending. And since thanks to the amazing early college high school, I missed a Gruner, and my 2 associate degrees that almost all of us have earned, who went to early college, I will be double majoring in environmental chemistry and business, 2 of the most applicable degrees, especially with up-and-coming environmental problems. I hope to use this to become a sustainability specialist and focus on marine conservation. Minor ideas, thanks to my internship last year, information technology and/or Spanish. Extracurriculars, just throughout the years. And here we go. So the microbiology lab, although this is not the first year there's been an intern in the microbiology lab, there were several new aspects to mine, thanks to Ryan Jones over here, who decided to put me onto the plan a little bit more than the interns have in the last 2 years. This gave me a new perspective to the company as a whole. It has shown me the company and how the day-to-day jobs of all sorts of employees affect the company in multiple ways, especially Freshmark's constant and detailed effort into making sure that every employee, machine, and product is safe, clean, and up to code for our customers. So what we test for, don't be alarmed by any of these. There has never been a huge problem with any of these bacteria. Mainly in the lab, we run a lot of tests, anywhere from, I would say, 100 to 500 tests a day. Now, here we have examples of the most common tests that we run, really get close. Here at Freshmark, we sample products to our customers because a lot of customers ask for specific type of tests before they say, oh yeah, we'll give this to our customers. And then we also, as Freshmark, have internally environmental samples. This is sampling with swabs anywhere from the walls to the ceilings, the floors, gloves, cracks in little doorways, anything that you can think possible would hold any sort of bacteria at all. We sample everything. We sample these through swabs and through bags of the product themselves. Now, these samples are taken back to the lab and tested for all these things. APC and APC, which is aerobic plate count, and anaerobic plate count. The main difference between that is aerobic means with oxygen and anaerobic means without oxygen. Yeast and mold, which causes harmful toxins that people can have allergic reactions to and can overall affect their body and the surrounding area. There's yeast, and there's mold. Mold on a hot dog, not any of our hot dogs, of course. Then we have Listeria, LS, Staph, E. coli, and Salmonella, the four most common foodborne bacterium. Just because I like showing you that I know what it looks like. This is LS. We have Staph over there, Salmonella here, and LS right here. My responsibilities day-to-day in the lab. Now, I did a lot of stuff in the plants, but day-to-day in the lab, whenever I was down there, I would record incubator temperatures. Just open the incubator, 4.5 degrees Celsius. Good job, Sarah. I would read APC and APC and lactic plates. Lactic is a little bit of a different test. We don't do it as often, but it's still very important. Anywhere from 220 to 200 plus plates a day. Record samples and enter them into the LIMS system or manual on worksheets. This is really important. It's one of the projects that we had implemented several years ago, just to put everything on computers so that we always know where our samples are, and we can always, everyone up here and our customers can find out as soon as possible what the results of these tests are. I prep samples for requested tests, perform tests, which can take anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours, incubate anywhere from 1 to 4 days, and clean bottles, which Honoré did not have any problem giving me that duty this summer. I make solutions for tests that we use every single day, and then we repeat it all again after lunch when we get more samples. Observing employee sanitation habits. Now, this was my first project, I would say. Most of this was just to help me familiarize myself with the plant. And then the other was just to see how some of the employees reacted to the day-to-day tasks that they had to do. That might have seemed tedious to some people, but that we realize is really important to help the sanitation and just overall quality of our product. Some of my observations included that there was hair and beard nets at lunch. This is something that was a huge concern. It was just something that we noticed, that people were still wearing beard nets. And the main concern there was possibly having allergens in the plant area. Now, this was something that as soon as I mentioned it, all of the supervisors took me really seriously on, and they actually talked about it in their meeting the next day, and it was fixed right away. Same with the sinks and hand dips being too cold. Regulation was 100 degrees after 30 seconds, but it was 50 degrees, which is very cold and hard to wash your hands, and we really want people to wash their hands, and 36.6 degree dips. This is just because of how cold the environments have to be for the products, but those are also fixed right away. But my overall observations were really that employees were adamantly cleaning every part of the plant during the sanitation process. Supervisors kept a close eye on workers handling products, and they were all incredibly respectful to me. When you see a new young person walking around a plant, sometimes people can get a little wary and be like, and kind of can be questionable as to what they're doing, but everyone took me seriously, and I really respected that. And then my last project was the validation of intermediary coat usage in ready-to-eat areas. This basically was just about seeing whether we should use light blue coats or dark blue coats for the RTE rework stations. Which rework process works best and produce the least amount of risk. So I just swabbed and tested the efficiency of these stations for about 2 weeks, and then we waited another 2 weeks for all the data, and we're actually having our final meeting about it on Monday with all of the lab technicians over all these several plants. So far, the only thing we found out of the hundreds of swabs that we had that got close, because if we see something that's 10,000 over, that's when we take it, when we take a little bit more attention to it, was just the package before dip, but because every package has to be dipped, the package after the dip, the very same package went down to 32. That's just basically how many colonies we find on a plate. Overall, I would just like to say that I have learned way more than I thought I was going to. I think this internship challenged me a little more in terms of how much I had to move around and how much I had to be on my feet about the different tasks at hand. I would like to say special thanks to all of these people, most of you in this room, and are there any questions?
So, what do you think of limbs?
I have messed up a few times, but I always been able to fix it. Actually, working with Honor and Svetlana, we were able to figure out little shortcuts for when things went wrong. Because if you receive something right away, it can just disappear. And if you forget to receive it, the site will log you out after like 10 minutes. You're going to have to enter them all in again. But we found out a way to fix all that through like copy and pasting, which they didn't know was possible before. I think it's way more useful in terms of getting information across to other lab technicians, to everyone up here,
Yeah.
and to our customers.
I think it's supposed to be helpful tracking information.
Yeah. We get quite a few calls if we accidentally put something in the wrong incubator, which isn't a big deal at all. It's in the right incubator in the lab, it just may have been put in incubator 2 instead of 3 on limbs. People will call us and be like, hey, is this in the right incubator? Does it have the right time? I'm like, yeah, of course, but that way we know that people are tracking it and watching it just as we are.
So not to put you on the spot, but what's the difference between a light blue and a dark blue?
Well, actually, the problem was that different plants didn't actually, it wasn't all, what's the word? I'll say it wasn't all the same. Some plants were using light blue coats to handle exposed meat product, which is what you're supposed to do. But the majority of the plants in each room, dark blue coats are what is used for exposed meat, while light blue is for enclosed product, which is essentially what we are testing. I guess that answers the question.
It just tells you a difference. I mean.
Oh yeah, it does. And the main concern was that because not all plants were the same, we were worried that maybe there was any risk for contamination, which
Good catch.
there really isn't.
That's a good catch.
It's a good presentation. I think just to give everyone a perspective, it's kind of a scary topic in a way. For a lot of years thought that bacteria were not a problem in the meat business. 1999, Billmar Foods, which I think at that time was part of Sara Lee, had a listeria outbreak on hot dogs. And it was sort of a wake-up call to the entire industry. So before we go through maybe a cursory swabbing of a Q-tip on a whole thing, nothing there. But the more you get into it, any food plant, hospitals and produce plants, bacteria is everywhere. So I think the industry, and we certainly as a company, got way out ahead of this after 1999 and went through this extensive program of swabbing everywhere and looking for things because it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is to be able to control it and obviously to keep the pathogens out of any consumer product. We have a very effective plan, way above what the government would require. In fact, you see as it moves on, we're USDA inspected, so we got into this, let's say, right, 1999, 2000. FDA plants are really struggling with all this because nobody's ever sampled, they don't understand this. They're afraid of this. Produce plants are in total disarray with things like this and unable to control pathogens. The work you're doing and the work we're doing in the lab, I think is very forward and outstanding. It sounds scary, but it's like anything else. If you don't, it doesn't exist, you turn your head, it's going to be a problem at some point. So we're very proactive in the way that we. How many tests did you say we go through?
So every time we start a test, like ABC, we number it, and we always start with like 100 for Mondays, 500 for Fridays, whatnot. We normally, most of the time for each test, and there's 7 different tests, have well over or at least 100 samples for each test. So some days there can be as many as 700 different little tests going on.
So you're looking at product, you're looking at walls, ceilings, floors. Where might there be a problem? I appreciate what you've done, but it's very effective. And just to give you perspective, a lot of people in the food industry are struggling with this kind of thing. And, produce seem to be immune to all this, and now you're seeing all these outbreaks in produce. Fortunately, we have so-called kill steps for smoking and processing, which will kill them. You don't want to get introduced. That's why you change different codes. You go through foot baths. Mm-hmm. other industries have not really caught up. So our products are safe, and it's because of what you're doing.
It's always impressive because all plants, if anyone can notice, only 3 people work on the samples from every single plant. This summer there were 4 of us in the lab, but it's really only 3. John Stevan and Andre. They do a great job keeping on with
Good.
it.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
So, just a point, Food and Drug Administration, FDA, and USDA. So, we are USDA inspected. And Food and Drug would inspect like a cereal plant, flour mill, bakery. Those are all things that don't wash down. We have to wash down every day. So that 3rd shift is a wash down shift for us, it's a sanitation shift. Which I think that's the reason we are ahead of the food businesses that are FDA. Food and Drug is, I think, trying to catch up. That being said, what Neil left out is in '99, he said, I've got to get ahead of this. So he set up an outside food safety consulting group to come in and meet, and they inspect our plants, and they sit and they talk about best practices, bring ideas in from the outside. If we have an issue, we've got these people that we can call, and they're always 24/7 on call for us. Brittany's used, one of the people on the food safety committee is a crisis communications person. He specializes in communicating if you have a crisis, and he's on call, and we've worked with him several times. But that food safety committee is still in existence today, and really is a good source for us.
I think it really reassures the customers' minds too, more so than I ever thought it would.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Sarah. Next up, Skylar.
Hello, I'm Skylar Miller. My summer internship was in marketing and communication. This presentation will tell you about a little bit more about myself, the projects that I worked on over the summer, and what I've taken away from this opportunity. So, a little bit more about myself. I was born and raised in Canton, Ohio. My high school was McKinley. I graduated in May, but I was a part of a program called Early College, which allowed me to take college classes and high school classes at the same time. So actually in May, I graduated with my high school diploma and 2 associate's degrees from Star State. And I'll continue my education at The Ohio State University in this upcoming semester. I plan to major in social work and get my master's in social work. My dream job would be to become a special agent in the FBI. So I worked on a lot of different projects over the summer, but I wanted to just talk about 3 main ones. The first one is the biggest one, which was archiving, and I did this for Isaac Ginshaft because he is like our unofficial historian of the company. So I organized all the historic company items, and I made a catalog of all of them, and there's about 800 things in this book, and they're in different categories, like if they're novelty items or apparel or anything like that. So what you would do if you wanted to get something that was like historic from the company, you'd go upstairs to the room that all the items are held in, and then you come to this binder and you go to whatever category you wanted to look at, find the item, and then take it out of that according bin, sign your name, write the date, and then write the day you return it. So I'm going to pass this binder around. While I was archiving this room, the Massillon Museum contacted us about wanting 2 items to be put up for their display about the industries that have grown in Stark County. So the 2 items that we gave to them were a cookbook, which is on the right. Oh, you can't see it on the TV. It's on the right. And then there's a photo from the 1950s on the left. And they will be on display until October 13th. An interesting thing I learned while also archiving is that old Kodak photographs, which are the paper that the pictures are printed on, the back says different words depending on what decade they were printed in. So like the 1950s says Volks, in like the 70s says this paper was manufactured by Kodak. So I found that really helpful when I was trying to categorize where the photograph came from or when it came from. The other two projects I worked on was creating Instagram content. Now the purpose of this was to create content of our product in new and inventive ways. So I helped to cook the food and plate it and used a bounce board to soften the shadows that appeared on the food when we took the pictures, and I actually took some of the photographs. So on the right is a picture of some pasta that we prepared. It has bacon in it and basil. And I'm actually holding the bounce board with one hand and then pulling the pasta up with the other. And then I also helped to make those spring rolls at the bottom, which are inspired by sandwiches. So the one on the left is a BLT, the one in the middle is a spicy Italian, and the one on the right is a club sandwich. And it's all wrapped in like a rice paper type thing. And the last project that I wanted to talk about was the Puppy Pound adoption, which is where you can go to the Cleveland Browns training camp, but you could also adopt a dog while you were there. And we sponsored it this year. So we made gift bags to give to each person that adopted a puppy, and have a picture of the puppy, one of the puppies, and the gift bags that they received. My job was to get the treat for the gift bag, which is the hot dog shape on the top left. We chose a hot dog shape not only because we are the official hot dog of the Cleveland Browns, but also because of a rebranding of the hot dogs that we've recently done, and also our Hot Dog Out Loud campaign. What I've learned from this experience is organizational skills. In high school, I consider myself pretty organized, but during this program, I really learned the value of writing a to-do list and like being able to keep straight everything I'm doing because I have it listed and what I need to do is right there in front of me. I also learned about communication both inside the company and outside of the company. There's a meeting that we would do every Monday that the marketing team calls a Monday stand-up meeting where we all come into a conference room and we stand around because there's not enough chairs for us all to sit. And we talk about what we're going to do in the upcoming week. And we talk about if we need help or if we need to plan a meeting with someone. But we also talk about like what we did over the weekend so we can connect and get to know each other better. And I really liked those meetings. It was a highlight of my Monday. I also communicated outside of the company with orders, specifically the hot dogs. We worked with a small bakery from Indiana. So we really had to like stay on them to make sure the timeline was being met. We ordered 200 hot dog treats from them. So it was a very big order for them and they got it done and they did a great job too. I also learned about cross-departmental teamwork. When I thought about a company, I knew there was different departments in there, but I didn't realize how much they interacted. And during this internship, I learned that they talk all the time, they trade ideas, they communicate. Marketing talks to pretty much every department in this building. And they specifically they talk a lot to sales and research and development from what I've seen. They even help to plan the sales recognition like dinner and auction that they recently had. They had a stand-up meeting type thing with research and development, except it was bigger, and they talked about what they did over the past year and what they plan to do and how they can help each other. And they just made sure that everyone was on the same page, and I found out how important that was. Okay, well, I would like to thank Julian Chef and Tim Creator for this amazing opportunity that I've been presented with this summer. And I'd also like to thank the rest of the Freshmark family for being so welcoming in such a nice environment to join.
So I've got a question. Do you think Brittany and Emily are well organized?
I do.
Good answer. I also knew you were going to say that because they are incredibly well organized. So.
Actually, one of the meetings we had was Brittany showing us her 3-year plan, or 5-year plan, but in the 3 years we almost achieved everything on the 5-year plan, which I thought was really interesting.
What type of social work do you want to do?
I don't know, because there's 2 different main types, which is micro and macro. So macro would be like the well-being of a whole hospital, like all the patients and everyone that's in there, or micro would be like child services. So I don't know because I haven't had a chance to experience both, but I think either one would be interesting.
And this might be helpful just in terms of organizational skills and communication.
Good job.
Good.
Jordan and Mariah.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jordan, and this is our 2019 internship presentation. This is?
Mariah, and we're going to go over a few things that we've done for the past week.
We will be first talking about who we are, the projects we're in, the skills we learned, 5S, and why 5S is so important.
Alright, so here's a little bit about us. Like I said, my name is Mariah Huff. I go to Templeton College. I'm enrolled at Stark State. My goal is to graduate my associate's degree by next year. And here are some activities that I do. Now I'm going to hand it to Jordan.
As Mariah said, my name is Jordan. I graduated from Templeton College and Stark State with my dual associate degree. I plan on attending Akron University, majoring in engineering, minoring in business, and here are a couple activities I do.
Alright. During our internship in the IT department, we had a lot of projects that we worked on, and the main one today, as we said, we're going to be talking about 5S and why it's so important to this company, why we believe it is. And here's some pictures of people that we met. We met many more, we just couldn't fit it on the slide, so you can see we met a lot of people.
By this time, you're probably wondering, what is 5S? Well, this is a methodology that results in a workplace that is clean, safe, uncluttered, and it really focuses on the optimization of our productivity.
And as you said, 5S, here are the 5 steps to 5S. They're in Japanese, they're founded by the Japanese, so as you can see, I'm not going to be saying the last one, but here are the 5 steps.
Okay, as Mariah said at the beginning, let's talk about history. Toyota is one of the first companies to use 5S on a grand scale. They use this so well that they began to make their cars very cost effective. By 1970, they were the leading foreign car sales in the United States.
And as you can see over here is a book that they actually made for 5S, so the Toyota way. And here are the 5 pillars. So what is the 5 pillars? So you have sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. So sort, you're organizing whatever area needs clean, and then you want to set in order. So you're keeping everything in order, and then from there, you're shining. So cleaning, shining, making sure that area is very pleasable to all the workers. Standardize is you're eliminating errors, and at this step, you want to either label and place stuff so you know where everything will go, and sustain. This is the most important step. If you mess up on this step, it could create a never-ending cycle. So you want to have an efficient setup that is easily able to maintain. And as you can see over here is the 5 pillars of 5S, and it's a little poster that I created in Visio, and it's placed around the IT department, and it just tells the workers, please keep the IT department clean. So we wanted to make that bold. So if you're wondering, why is there a blank side? Not my mistake. It's like that. So I'm going to tell you a little story about a young lady named Janelle. Alright, so she called to the help desk and asked for 4 mice, right? The help desk says, we have 3. No problem there, right? Of course, they're going to order another one. But she's excited. She got her 4 mouses. She's very, very excited. But little did you know, back there in that storage room, there wasn't 1 mouse, but there was 8. There was 8 mice back in that storage room. Where were they at? Nobody knew. That's why you're throwing money in the trash. Stop throwing the bins away. The Benjamins, we need them.
You're probably thinking, this doesn't happen that much. Well, actually, a couple weeks ago, we were sitting at the help desk, where we realized an item by the name of this, a space optimizer kit came in. We looked at the inventory and realized that there was actually 72 of the exact same item in the storage room. They didn't take the time to go back and look to see if there's actually that exact item.
And I just keep thinking, I was like, did they want 73? Ooh, an odd number sounds good. Let's get 73, not 72.
Sort, the first pillar. In this pillar, you would create a descriptive outline. You would figure out what is needed and unneeded. Out of the unneeded inventory, you need to throw it away, recycle it, or even sell it if possible.
Oh my goodness.
Set in order, the second pillar. In this, you would create an easy to understand system that creates organization. You would keep organized daily. In this, you would really focus on the training to maintain organization so that even if the littlest item goes out of place, it becomes back in place in a timely manner.
Alrighty, the third pillar, as I was saying earlier, this is shine. And in this pillar, you're shining, cleaning, dusting, and either organizing or whatever it takes to clean up that area. So as you can see up here is a shelf in the storage room. So you would either sweep up the floor, dust off the top, whatever it takes to make it feel very comfortable to everybody. Me, you, everybody. Alright, fourth pillar, standardize. As I was saying, this is a pillar or step that's very important. So you're either labeling or whatever it takes to stop the negative reoccurring events. So as you can see over here is a little diagram that I created in Visio. It's all the shelves lined up of the storage room. They're all labeled exactly the same in the storage room. So as you can see, T1 would be toner, or EW, electronic waste, and this is where the recyclings would go. And this falls into eMates. And so in eMates, it's a software where you plug in inventory. So all these locations and the shelves would follow into that eMates.
Sustain, the end-all be-all pillar. This is the most important pillar. This is the hardest pillar to achieve. Without this pillar, there would be recycle, where errors occur, maximum profit is lost.
And as you can see over here is a little calendar that I created in Microsoft Word, and it just explains to all the help desk workers, so Jay, Tom, Richard, and Terrence, and it tells them out of one of the weeks, 5 of the days, at least one day, they'll go back into the storage room and clean it out from sweeping, organizing, dusting, whatever it takes to make sure everything's in the place that it was before.
Now let's take a look at a company with 5S and without 5S. With 5S, you're very effective. Errors rarely happen, and you can find the mistake. Without 5S, you can't find the mistake. Errors are always higher, and you really struggle. As you can see, with 5S, you're focused, you're orientated, you're ready to go. Without 5S, you seem confused, not orientated, and you don't seem like you're going to complete the task. As a result, minimum error decreases, maximum efficiency increases, and maximum profit drastically increases.
Alright, so as we were hitting on earlier, that we worked in the storage room and in the IT department, and you're probably wondering, did you go back there and just clean it up? No, we actually try to use the 5 steps of 5S to set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. Use all those steps to clean it out. And we're going to go over a little bit of the before and after images of the storage room. As you can see on the left, there's monitors, printers all over the place. In front of the storage room, and the right is very more organized. On the left and right, as you can see, on the left there's boxes everywhere, wires. The shelves are very disorganized. There's a printer in the middle of nowhere. You have to shimmy your way down to get to the last shelf. And over here, the e-waste shelf is very organized, as I was saying. The electronic waste shelf where you recycle, and the toner and monitors are also.
Okay, let's stop and imagine yourself being in this room. There's nails, glass, cords, and other electronic parts on the ground. And you're going to have to go all the way back there to get one of those items. That's not going to happen. You're going to trip, fall, and hurt yourself. It's a big safety hazard. Also, maximum profit is lost because workers' compensation will most likely come into play.
And as you can see here is the recycling shelf, and it's way pulling into the middle of the hallway of the storage room, so you're not really sure what's behind her. And as we figured out that there's stuff behind her that should have been on the shelf, not in the recyclables. And it's over here, very organized, and you know where things are. And here are some of the comments that we received after completing the 5S. So as you can see, I'm gonna go over a couple. Rick walked in one day and he said, "Where are my hats?" I guess he couldn't believe that it was that organized. And then Colleen said, "Looks great. You should come to Campfield to clean up my house." I was like, I'll think about it. Anytime, call me, I'll be there. And Richard, he said one day when I was in there placing the labels in, and he seemed very, very confused. I was like, "You need help with anything?" And he was like, "Yeah, do you know where the 5A laser jet is?" I was like, "Yeah, it's right over here." So I think he couldn't believe, he was like, "You're actually paying attention," that we knew where everything was. I was like, yeah, that's kind of the point of 5S and us cleaning out the storage room. So everybody was very, very shocked. And, the case of the hidden light switch. It's a shame. If the little IT department didn't know a light switch that existed, as you can tell what Tom and Jay said.
So you should remember that 5S is a method that results in a workplace that is organized, clean, safe, and uncluttered. It really focuses on optimization of productivity, effectiveness, and a cycle that can be repeated daily, weekly, yearly, and so on and so forth.
All right. Oh. I'm excited to this clear. There we go. As we want to leave the day by saying thank you for the opportunity to work here. It was a pleasure to work here, and it was very, very wonderful experience. So we want to give special thanks to all these people, and especially Neil and Isaac. If you weren't here, we wouldn't be here. So thank you very much. Leave today with our reference. And any questions, comments, concerns?
Who's going to carry on this work now that you're going away?
Well, the goal is to, like I was saying earlier about e-mates, to have a system where everything is plugged in, and so whenever somebody wants something, if you plug it in, you could literally, it would order it for you. So the goal is to keep that storage room how it is now and follow that labeling of
But
that.
who's going to do that?
Ron is actually working with us right
Okay,
now,
good.
so he was working with the e-mates.
I completely forgot. But we also created, here's the schedule, guys. If you want it.
So then the help desk would go back there and still making sure that it's organized and clean.
How is this going to help you in your future career path?
I think it's going to help me, just knowing the 5 steps of 5S is very helpful. So going through all those steps in any situation would be very helpful in organizing or cleaning, whatever the main goal of either cleaning up my desk at home or in college, my dorm, whatever it takes.
I also have to say, a lot of companies that are larger are starting to actually go to methods like 5S or something around that similar. It's just very effective.
So this e-mate that you've heard him refer to as a software program that we purchased that will properly loaded, you put all of your maintenance parts into it, and you identify where they are, and if we start to wade into e-mate, we find out that plants decide that instead of keeping things in one place, organized, etc., next thing you know, Canton plant might have parts, engines, belts, switches, PLCs. They may have it in 7 different places in the plant. Then they lose track of it. And I know what we spent on parts in maintenance last year, and it's a big, big number. So if the e-mate is basically based on a 5S approach, and I think if we get started on that, which we intend to, Dwight's, I think, going to be involved in helping us get that done. I mean, there's millions of dollars to be saved, are there not?
Yeah, this is actually why we did it, is we did this in IT because we wanted this to be, if you would, the test case for doing it in the parts rooms.
Okay, well, that's why, even I could make that connection.
Yeah.
So,
Now, Neil, Mariah is a junior at the Early College High School. So she's a stone's throw away if you want her to come back and do some checking for you.
Okay. Okay,
You might want to consider that.
that's good. You come back, you'll come back and help us?
Yeah,
Okay. Good.
anytime,
Good.
anything.
Okay, good. Very good.
Good job, guys.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, thank you everyone for coming today. My name is Brennan Hunt, and for the past 3 months, I've been in the accounting concern. All right, so just a little bit about myself to start. I graduated Hoover High School in 2017, and I'm a junior at The Ohio State University, where I'm pursuing a degree in finance. As much as I love Columbus, it's a great campus, just a great city, and a lot of good people down there. I was very thankful for the opportunity to work here because it allowed me to live at home with my family. Picture right there, and I'm very close with them. So, a few other interests. I'm a big football fan. The Browns and Buckeyes football. It's finally our year if you're a Browns fan. I like listening to music, country, 70s, 80s, most anything. I like to watch movies, and I like to work out. So throughout my internship, I spent about 2 to 3 weeks at each branch except Salem. I didn't quite get up there, but I started here at corporate in Cossin County. I worked under Dan Holt, and I worked closely with Stephanie Spare and Joe Galina. Stephanie was over at Canton for a week while I was there, so I filled in and picked up some of her duties, which included filling out the weighted differential worksheet and the daily difference worksheet as well, so just looking at production variances. I also helped with the downtime percentage reports and filling in labor hours on the efficiency sheets. And while I was there for a couple days, I did get to spend some time on the factory floor. I went around with the mechanic and recorded serial numbers and manufacturers for all the assets in the plant. So after that, I went down the street to cold storage where I worked under Stephanie Evans, and I shadowed Shane Steinmetz. So I helped him work on the 2020 budget where I designed some Excel spreadsheets that he could use as templates. So this top one is a breakdown of freight costs by state. So we looked at number of trips, fuel cost, just total cost, weight, broken down by each state if you guys the business end. And then the bottom is a breakdown of interplant. So we looked at the interplant miles and total trips between the Freshmark facilities, so like Canton to Salem, Canton to cold storage. And that brought me back to corporate where I worked with Ryan Jones in quality assurance. So for a week and a half, I helped him to input product codes into the LIMS system. So he would give me a spreadsheet that you can see in the bottom right corner there, and I would take those codes and input into the LIMS how often the test needed to be ran, how big a sample, and what we were testing for. So like yeast, mold, E. coli, things like that. And then for the next week and a half, I spent time in the factory as a QA tech. So I did hourly quality checks on the product, metal detection, and sanitation. So that was probably the hardest part of my internship because it required me getting up at 4:30 a.m. to be here by 5:30. Not exactly a morning person, but it was cool to see the production process and see the product as it came off the line. So after that, I was fortunate enough to take a nice vacation, and then I came back to Canton to work with Leslie Miller. So I helped her to with the AX, ongoing AX process to get that ready. I input different codes into AX, and then also wrote out the film codes and the packaging codes that were associated with them. I also helped her to report some of the information from the smoke sheets. So I would take these smoke sheets that would come off the line and record the beginning and ending weight before and after they went into the smoke. And that brings me back here. For the past 2 weeks, I've been working with Sarah upstairs in accounting, and I've just been scanning W-9 forms from all the vendors into AX and attaching them to the vendor codes. I've also been updating some of the information on those as well. So it's been a great 3 months. It's gone by very fast. So just a couple of takeaway and highlights real quick. The first thing I noticed here from day one was the company culture. As a first-year intern, someone who did not have a lot of office experience, or any at all, I should say, everyone was just so welcoming, so friendly, just willing to answer questions, because I was certainly a little bit intimidated first got here, but I became comfortable very quick. I also was given some valuable exposure to a lot of different departments, so from cost accounting to corporate accounting, QA in the office, QA on the factory floor. Just giving me a very holistic view of the company, and I was able to see just how detailed, how much work goes into a successful business. And moving on, I also gained some very beneficial office experience. So last summer, it was kind of a 180. Last summer I was mopping floors in a factory floor, so to be able to work in an office and just little things even from professional dress to reporting to a supervisor, sending professional emails, things like that, definitely things that I can take and use throughout the rest of my career. I also had a very unique opportunity to work with Matt, one of my best friends, and I was thankful for that opportunity because I'm not sure how many times throughout my career I can say that I worked with one of my best friends since elementary school, so that was very cool. And last but not least, the free samples, which doesn't like free bacon and hot dogs. I just want to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity to work here and for listening to this presentation. I do want to thank Mr. Kokenauer too for helping me get connected with HR and getting the process going, and also Rick Hawley for treating me to very nice lunches. But again, thank you all for listening, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Which experience did you think was most valuable to you? You did a lot of different things.
Yeah. At cold storage, I really enjoyed that because I had a little bit more freedom to kind of build the budgets and design the spreadsheets kind of the way I envision them. So that was cool.
Does this help you with finance at all? Is this how does this relate to finance? Anything you did?
Just being in the accounting departments, I guess, and just seeing what all goes into that. It's certainly more detailed than I thought. I didn't work a lot with the numbers, but I didn't really, except in the budgeting, I guess, but I just didn't really realize how much detail, how many things there are to keep track of.
So I'm most curious about your QA floor experience.
Yeah.
So give me a couple of memories from that.
Well, like the first week I got there, and I guess it takes a while to become familiar with the product. So there was one day in particular, I ended up tagging quite a bit of pallets, and the line workers didn't especially like that, but I was just doing what I was told. That's my ability.
You gotta have a thick skin, don't you?
Yeah, you have to know that. It's everyone's fine. It's nice.
Well, it's, the reason you tag it now is the farther it gets into the, out away from the plant, the more expensive it gets. So catch it early. But that, for the rest of the room, tagging it means it's put on hold to be re-inspected. And that means somebody has to go through every one of those cases and look at each one of those items to see if it's okay. So it's a big deal, but it's critical.
Yeah.
And just for the room, Holly has never bought my lunch.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brenda.
Rachel, I do have some extra copies of you guys.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Newmark. I was a supply chain intern here this summer. I started May 21st, so I've been here for about 3 months, and I'll be here until next week, August 9th. I attend Rutgers Business School. I'm a supply chain management major. I'll be a junior this coming semester. And I'm actually originally from Cleveland, Ohio, but when I was 6 years old, my family moved to East Brunswick, New Jersey, which is about 15 minutes from Rutgers. And then just last summer, they moved back to Cleveland. So I stayed at Rutgers, but I do come visit time to time and during the summertime. I worked in the purchasing department. I was mentored and instructed by Chris Dennis. And I assisted in projects with cold storage, AX and FM portal, and items with all 3 plants, Massillon, Canton, and Salem. Oops. Sorry. of the projects that I worked on included creating item codes for supplies in the new AX system for EDI integration purposes, edited and updated supply items unit of measure conversions, analyzed the summary report for the cold storage facility daily. For that project, I built a spreadsheet for a daily report observing how many pallets were being loaded and unloaded per hour for the cold storage facility. So Rick Hawley would send me a summary report each morning where I analyzed by job code the pallets and units being loaded and unloaded. So by doing this, we were able to measure those daily efficiencies to help management reduce their own labor costs. I also updated 100% of our finished item codes inner box dimensions in the FM portal. And I created a database incorporating box dimensions, computer automated drawing or CAD, the CAPE report, which shows the tie high of the pallets, and the computerized print minis of each box supplied from our corrugated suppliers. Lastly, I worked on the film waste analysis, which I'll be going in more depth in the next couple of slides. And the reason why I chose to focus on this project specifically, because I think it really encompasses the art of supply chain management and shows how my projects had an impact on the operations that are being observed. So for the film waste analysis, I took a look at the printed film that was being used to package the Coney 2018 items. And I ran a supply usage report that was given in MSI, or 1,000 square inches of film in our system. And I converted that to impressions using a unit conversion sheet. I then took the quantity produced and multiplied that by the eaches per case to find the impressions needed. And then I used a percent error formula to find the waste percentage of each item. I then took the difference between the MSI used and MSI needed to find the total MSI waste of each item. And then I multiplied that by the price per MSI, which I found in the AX system, so I found the total waste cost of each item. So here is 17 items of the 2018 Coney items. You could see the bottom highlighted row, you could see the total impressions required, total impressions used, total MSI waste, an average waste percentage, and then a cost of waste total. So why this became so important is because now we can use this as a framework or a guideline to make sure that our extra film is being used within the realm of these numbers. With information like this, we can contain a controlled system so that when errors in the plant inevitably occur, we can make sure that we keep our efficiency going by having the correct amount of film on hand. The learning experience working at Freshmark was incredible. I was able to understand the importance of small detail, efficiency, and communication. Working with others around me who were eager to help me and thoroughly answering my questions gave me a path that led to my success. I felt that all my projects had a final goal and each small step was vital to reach the end result. From the first week, I was toured through the plant so that I could visualize every project that I was working on. And as mentioned in the film waste analysis, when I went to visit the Coney plant, I was able to visualize and comprehend what those details meant in terms of that operation. And then use that data to strategize for the future. Constant improvement was always encouraged throughout every project I worked on, so it made the environment very easy for me to do my best work possible. The friendly and vibrant community here at Freshmark was always so refreshing to be a part of. Everyone is passionate about this company, and I met so many people here who worked here for several years, showing that strong connection that people have to the Freshmark company and family. It's very evident that everyone here is working to build each other up as one and learning from one another. Lastly, I wanted to say thank you for giving me this opportunity to be here. I was given a number of tools and projects that allowed me to succeed and make a positive impact on this company. I also wanted to thank all of the colleagues that I worked with for being so open and willing to help me throughout the entirety of the summer. That type of openness and sharing of information really leads to the best analysis and therefore the best, most accurate results. So I truly appreciate that. Thank you so much for this extraordinary opportunity. Do you have any questions?
Well, you put these types of numbers in front of us, so we kind of get curious.
Yeah.
That's
can go
Were
back.
people, were people interested in that when you showed them film waste?
Yeah, a lot of people were saying that we always wanted to work on a project like this, but there was just never the chance or the time. So I actually also did 2019, but it was easier to get more accurate information for 2018, so I used that as a guideline more. But yeah, everyone was saying that they knew that it was a problem, so they were glad to see that someone was working on it.
Do you know what industry standard might be on percentage of waste?
I do believe that they were trying to shoot for like about 20%, but I don't know if that is the,
This
I know that
is
that's
really
a-
very interesting. I mean, it's something that has to be carried on.
yeah, when I was hearing about it, I thought it was just a perfect project to work on to really show me.
We did great work, then. Why don't you stay for another 10 years?
I love it.
What, you're graduating in supply chain?
Supply chain management.
Why did you choose that?
It really stuck out to me because I think it's a lot of the behind the scenes of business. And a lot, like so many people, there's like details like this that people might not think of when they go to the supermarket and they pick up a package of hot dogs. No one thinks about the plastic that's packaging it and how it's so important for profitability and efficiency. So I really liked how it's things that people don't notice, but it's equally as important.
So at one point in my life, I was in supply chain. And when I tell everybody that listen, I would say, being in supply chain gives you a license to hunt. You can go anywhere inside the company, you can go anywhere outside the company, you visit vendors, you see different manufacturing processes, it takes you all the way around the country. I mean, it's a fascinating job, and you can make of it whatever you want to make.
Yeah.
And you can have an impact. I mean, just that little sheet right there is $38,000. So if we cut that in half, you know, got some money in our pocket.
Yeah. Which is also another thing that I found so interesting because the impact it's making, how big of a difference it makes. So I was glad that I was able to be a part of that.
That's good job.
Thank you. Last but certainly not least.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matt Kokenauer, and I've been an accounting intern here at Freshmark since about the middle of May. A little bit about me. I graduated from Hoover High School in 2017. I will be a junior this coming year at the University of Miami, pursuing a double major in accounting and legal studies and a minor in Spanish. Along with that, I'm swimming for the club team at UM, so I get to travel to multiple different schools in Florida and the South and get a chance to meet a lot of people that way. And my 5-year plan right now is to graduate May 22 with my CPA and be working for a major accounting firm in a bigger city, somewhere like Miami, Boston, Chicago, a lot of those areas. So like Brennan, I was split up at multiple different plants doing multiple different jobs throughout my time here. The first week of my time was done in Canton. I was there for just a week, and I worked with Leslie Miller during that time. It was actually the first week that Microsoft AX was being put up at the Canton plant to keep track of their inventory and everything. So I was stationed in a big conference room with a bunch of other accountants, IT workers from different plants, and we were all just meeting there every day, doing everything that we could to make sure that the AX was running smoothly. And while I was there, I was putting records into the system. I was making sure that all the pallet IDs were scanned, and I was deleting records that they forgot to take out of the system. So that's what I did for most of those days, and AX actually went so smoothly. I was supposed to be there for 2 weeks, but I ended up only being there for 1. And from there, I moved down to the basement to work in the IT department with Eric Ellis. There I worked on some continuous improvement projects with him. The biggest project that I did was the recycling project, where we're starting a recycling program throughout the corporate offices here. We're going to be recycling bottles, cans, paper, and cardboard. And we actually got the bins last week, and me and Brennan and Jordan went around the corporate offices and set them up in different locations today. So you might have seen them today. This is the first day that we're kicking it off. And that project just held a lot of meetings. It's been going on for about 2.5 months now, so that was the majority of my time here. And other than that, I was also doing Power BI reports for Eric. I did 3 during my time, 1 for manpower, 1 for efficiency, and 1 for tonnage. And this is an example of the manpower one. So Dwight sent me this spreadsheet on the left, and it was a single spreadsheet, but it contained like 15 different tables, and it was kind of confusing for someone that didn't know what to look for, like where to find what they needed to find. So the first step I would do is I would take it and make it into the spreadsheet on the right, which is just one big table where all the 15 tables into one, and everything is where it's needed to be. Then from there, I would make it into a Power BI report, which would show a lot of graphs, charts, visuals. It's just an easier way to look at data and have labels. They have slicers so that you can make it by plant or make it in the last month versus the entire year. Anything that you need to look at, it just makes it a lot easier to see. After my time in IT, I went down the street to cold storage for 3 weeks, and while I was there, I was establishing new standards for their 3 stake lines. I worked on 3 different products while I was there. I spent 12 days working on that, and I spent half my time down in the plant doing time studies. So I was timing, for instance, how many value packs of ham steaks they could wrap in a minute. I was timing how long it would take them to fill a box with 24 ham steaks, just anything in the process I would get trials for. And by the end of each, I would spend about 4 days on each line, and by the end I'd have about 20 to 30 different trials for each aspect of each line. So it took a good amount of time to get everything done, and then the other half, I'll be up at my desk in the office area, putting all my observations into Word documents, putting all the data into Excel sheets, recording downtime, putting that into account, and from there I'll be able to see how many cases could be made in a minute, and from there be able to make these standards that Eric Ellis should be reviewing right now, and eventually cold storage will adapt to them, because their standards right now are 12 to 15 years old, and they just need to update them, and they've been meaning to for a long time. So when I came in, they asked me to do it. That brings me to here. I've been in corporate accounting with Brendan for the past 2 weeks, working with Sarah and Aaron McCammon. And what I've been doing up there is I've been clearing out old purchase order numbers that held extra inventory that we never actually received. So it was just sitting there on the books and adding up expenses and purchases, or purchase amounts. So I was going in and taking them out. And I've been doing that for the past 8 days, and that says 800, but right now it's about over 1,200 to 1,400 purchase order numbers that I've taken out of the system. And so what I've learned from this, the first thing I learned was 2 new applications. I learned Microsoft AX and Power BI, and I really enjoyed using Power BI. I would probably be using it in my college classes in the future for different projects, because I think it's a really easy way to show visuals versus like an Excel graph or something like that. Project manager, working in teams. So for the recycling project, I was actually like the designated project manager for it. And it was really cool because we would be holding meetings, or I'll be giving presentations or holding meetings, and there would be so many different parts of the company there. Like there'd be someone from marketing, someone from purchasing, HR, IT, just all over the company, different levels of ranking basically. And I was in there giving my input where it was needed. There would be times I would be leading the meetings, and it was really cool just an intern to be with all these other heads in the room, being treated as an equal almost, and like getting that respect. Office experience, I did work here last summer, but there was a little bit more to this summer that I learned. Calling meetings and like how to dress professionally, sending out emails, just like Brent said basically. And the 4th thing is time management. There would be times I'd have 2 or 3 Power BI reports for Eric, plus the recycling project that I have for the entire 3 months, just learning how to cope with everything and keeping everything on a time, keeping everything separated and being able to finish everything on time, basically. And my 2 favorite experiences was moving around to different parts of the company and being able to work with other interns. So I got to work with Brent for the past 2 weeks and Mariah and Jordan on the recycling project throughout the summer. And I really enjoyed my time down in IT and being able to move around to cold storage for a little bit and Canton for a little bit, because when I first came here, I really only wanted to do accounting. That's all I really wanted to do, but then I got put in IT for 5 weeks and ended up being my favorite part of the entire internship. Lastly, I would like to thank you guys for giving me this opportunity. I really enjoyed my time here, and if you have any questions that I'd like to answer.
You want to work for an accounting firm?
Yeah, like Deloitte or E&Y, one of those bigger names, yeah, for the beginning of my
Or
career.
the
at
VA?
least.
This is way different, this is management accounting.
Yeah.
You seem to like that, I mean, being able to use accounting to manage and to move around and get
Yeah,
everything
I
done.
haven't taken any like tax or audit classes. I'm starting those next year, this coming up year. So then I think I'll really have a good idea of what I want to do. But
This
that's
must be more interesting for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He broke it to me at dinner last Tuesday. He didn't want to come back to Ohio right away.
I can pretty much tell you what your first 5 years are gonna be like in the big firm, so.
Yeah.
It's good experience.
It's a huge
It's
experience.
different.
Yeah, but it's a grind. They just use you. They're a piece of meat.
Somebody else.
No, but